Good afternoon. I'm Howard Tischler, the founder and CEO of Eversafe. Eversafe is revolutionary technology to protect older adults against financial exploitation.
And I'm Liz Lowy, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Industry Relations at Eversafe. I'm also the former Chief of the Elder Abuse Unit at the Manhattan DA's office. That's a position I had for 20 years. I met Howard after his mother was victimized. She was exploited by greedy telemarketers who made a living targeting older, vulnerable folks who didn't understand what they were buying. They thought nothing of selling Mrs. Tischler auto club services. The problem was she was a woman in her 80s, she had no driver's license, she didn't own a car, and she was legally blind. Mrs. Tischler's story is hardly unique. In the decades that I spent overseeing elder financial abuse cases at the Manhattan DA, I met countless victims who had been exploited, and I had to hear their stories every day. A number of these victims suffered from cognitive impairment, like dementia, such as Alzheimer's disease. Some of them had more money than others, but they all had one thing in common. These seniors had worked hard, investing and saving, in an effort to ensure that the fruits of their labor would be put away, safe and sound for the golden years, protected from exploiters. And I met hundreds of sons, daughters, and professionals, and I heard their stories. Professionals like lawyers and accountants and financial services professionals and powers of attorney, who felt horrible about the fact that they hadn't discovered erratic activity that they should have been looking out for before it was too late.
I quickly learned that what happened to my mother was the tip of the iceberg. And so the concept of Eversafe was born when I realized that technology could be used to solve the problem. Eversafe scans bank accounts, investment accounts, credit cards, and credit reports for suspicious activity daily. When suspicious activity is identified, the senior and their advocates are alerted. Eversafe is simple to use. Here on the screen, we have an alert that's gone out to Mary, who's the senior, and John, her son, who's the advocate. And this is a home shopping network transaction, and they have set it up so that whenever there's a purchase on Home Shopping Network, it ends up issuing an alert. This one happens to be okay, so I'm going to click the OK, and up comes the screen with all of her outstanding alerts. It's already marked OK. There's nothing else I have to do with it. I can click Save. The next transaction, or the next alert, is from Victoria's Secret, which is somewhere that we've seen. Mary has never shopped before, and she's a 75-year-old grandmother, and she's going to Victoria's Secret.
I asked Howard to put that there because I told him we had many, many cases, not picking on Victoria's Secret, but where their charges would appear on older folks' accounts. And not being ageist, but we could tell by the size of the items that they weren't for the senior.
Didn't fit me either. So I'm going to mark this one as a red flag, and because it really is suspicious, and I'm going to be able to enter in a follow-up. So I'm going to simply add a follow-up to this, where I specify a date by when I want to complete this follow-up, and when do I want Eversafe to notify me about the follow-up. I'm going to click the day before. And what I'm going to do is, Mary has an aide. So what we want to do is we want to talk to the aide and see, maybe she took a trip to Victoria's Secret. And we're going to save this follow-up, and that follow-up will then come up next Thursday, and it will notify us about whether or not we've talked to the aide. And if we have, then we can mark it done, and then it falls off the list. If not, you leave it out there, and you'll get another reminder the day that it's due. So I'm going to save Victoria's Secret. The next transaction is Walmart, and we can see that we marked that we want all transactions over $200 to alert us. This is another transaction that's okay. And incidentally, the parameters on these alerts can be set by the individuals. It can be tailored to each individual member of the service. and I could save that. The next alert is excessive cash withdrawal. So we know that Mary does take cash out of the bank, and what we see is, here it is, the middle of September, September 13th actually, and she's used up $700 in cash, when typically we could compare the transactions and see that she typically uses $400 in cash. Well, something's going on with Mary that we need to investigate. So we're going to simply mark this transaction again as a red flag, and we're going to ask Eversafe to call us about it.
Could be legitimate, but elder financial abuse starts small and it escalates. The exploiters are good at what they do. Could be legitimate, or it could be the beginning of life savings that are depleted.
So these are just a few examples of the types of alerts that we're coming up with that are unique to seniors. The beauty of our unique software is in the suspicious activity algorithms which run behind the scenes that generate these alerts.
Financial institutions and credit card companies have definitely gotten better at detecting suspicious activity, but they can't catch everything. Eversafe is focused on elder fraud and its unique red flags. It consolidates members' financial information from all of their accounts in one place. This is an all too common problem. It's now a billion-dollar industry in this country. And as a prosecutor, I could only address this devastating problem after the fact. Finally, we have a service that addresses it at its source.
Eversafe protects what the seniors have earned and saved over a lifetime. As folks live longer, technology is a low-cost, effective, and timely solution to the elder financial epidemic, so our parents and grandparents can live independently and with dignity. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.